willing to take that step, even though it's an uncomfortable step for them.
Oh, most definitely. In fact, I put a quote out today on social media when I was promoting the show that it's a John Maxwell quote, and he says, "A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way." And that's exactly what you just said.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. That's so important. And I feel that, the people. I know one of the quotes of a very strong leader is about the business of business is the people. So being a leader, especially in a volunteer organization, you need to be in tune with the people, and you need to be an example for them, and you need to care about them more than you care about yourself. Because being in a leadership position, the realization is that it's not all about you. It's all about your team and everybody that's on your team, because those are the people that are actually doing all the work and that are directly in Toastmasters, especially directly working with the members. And so as long as you are supportive of them and you treat them with respect, then they're going to treat their clubs with respect as well.
Oh, very much so.
I mean, yeah, the giver's gain philosophy that goes around there. Well, with all this on communications, how does Toastmasters interrelate with the various social media channels? Is there any crossover in standing out from just speaking and standing out on social media?
Well, actually, our district does have a Facebook page. We do interact on social media a lot. And one of the things, being a leader, that I had to actually deal with last year is you have to be very different on social media when you are a leader. During the elections last year, I had a few of my division area directors, some of my trio members that were very vocal about some of the things that were happening in the elections. And I contacted them directly and just basically told them that, you're a leader and a lot of people are looking toward you, and it's okay to give your opinion when you're a leader. You can state your opinion, but don't bash other people because they have a different opinion than you. So when you are a leader and you're interacting on social media, you have to be so careful about, political and religion and, different subjects. And when before you make that post, think about what you're going to say and think about how that's going to be perceived by everyone out there, not just a few people, but everyone, because you never know who's watching you on social media. So Toastmasters does interact on social media, but it does need to be very, very careful and kind of monitored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that applies for all businesses that are professionals that are using social media.
Exactly.
Because we need to be genuine, we need to be ourselves, but we also need to be respectful. And I know Brian Tracy. There's a quote out there from him that says, remember how it goes. It says the 3 C's of leadership are consideration, caring, and courtesy. And so you have to learn how to be polite to everyone and be respectful to everyone. And
exactly.
that is really, to me, a very true sign of being a leader, when you can be respectful and not be argumentative. It's like, I read so much on leadership. I went through my John Maxwell certification to be a certified leader in speaking and as well as training and coaching. And I just learned so much about how important it is to really be an influencer, be the person that wants to learn from you, and not try to, and never put yourself on that pedestal, but kind of, as you said, come in with the team. And I think some of my readings, I remember reading once about, think of an orchestra conductor. They have their back to the audience, but they're facing their musicians. They're leading their musicians by facing them, not by having them be behind them. So that's
exactly.
That's what I picture as a true leader.
Absolutely. That's a perfect analogy, too, because you do have to really be in the trenches with your team and not be, like you said, on that pedestal, because that's not where you're going to get buy-in. That's not where you're going to get people that are enjoying what they do. You have to be willing to jump in and help at whatever level that you are needed. And it's all, leadership is all about continuous learning and adaptability and always being able to reinvent yourself. So no matter what team you're in front of, you have to learn that team dynamic. You have to learn how those people work. You have to learn what motivates them. So each team throughout my years of Toastmasters, each team that I had was completely different from, the other. And so I had to learn about that team, take the time to learn about the team first, and then adapt myself so that I can communicate with that team and be effective with them, because not every team is going to work exactly the same.
Right. I mean, each team has different needs.
Exactly.
Most definitely. And getting them to be a team player, the leader has to be a team player, I would assume. I mean, that's just what I've experienced.
Yeah, that's a lot of what I was referring to when I was talking about leadership there just a minute ago. It's just being exposed to it, and you incrementally pick it all up. But, great leadership, from the individual all the way up to wherever the top level of Toastmasters is on that. So it's as much about leadership in my mind as it is about professionally speaking.
And what type of, I guess you could say, experience does one need to even be considered a leader?
Well, in Toastmasters, the wonderful thing is that you really don't have to have experience, because you have mentors and you have training that is provided by Toastmasters International at all levels. So there is club officer training when you're a club officer, and there are also mentors in the club that have done the role before, and they can always guide you. And then as you move up in through the district roles and up to international level, they still provide training as far as the training that I've had as a trio member going to world headquarters, and some of the training that they give you as a district leader deals with conflict resolution. There was working with different personalities, learning how to know what somebody's personality is and then how to effectively work with them, which goes back to learning how your team works or an individual on your team works. And then they also teach you how to develop a budget, work with a budget, how to prepare budgetary restrictions, and they teach you how to do team building. And the one thing that was always the most effective when you're in a group of leaders from all over the world, so many, many different countries, were the brainstorming sessions that we got to have with the other leaders that were in our specific roles. And you realize that even though these people are all the way across the other side of the world, they're experiencing some of the same problems that you are. And it's great to hear how they, in a different country or a different culture, relate to those things. So those are always the most powerful training sessions, I thought, that you can experience, because you're really hearing from people all over the world.
Oh, I mean, for sure. I mean, to me, being open to consistent learning, especially from others that you respect or that are influences in your organization, like, wow, get that word out here. But learning from others that you really highly look up to and such, and realize that, you're learning from them, but they're also going to learn from you, because like you say, you're all in those leadership roles and you're sharing solutions, because that's what a good leader does, is focuses on the solutions, especially if you are having a challenge, and not focus on that challenge, but focus on how we can get and make things better. But again, and understanding that there are other people out there that have experienced that, and then being open to hearing that. Right.
And in today's world, too, there are so many changes that are happening. And leadership and the way that you deal with different problems or the resolution to different problems is not going to be the same from year to year just because of all the changes that constantly take place. So you have to be, fully adaptable and open to hearing some different solutions and different ways of doing things.
Oh, definitely.
Being open to the change that you're talking about is, just in the general field of business and relationships, being open to being sensitive to the way people go through their lives, and the weather changes, politics changes, finances changes, all these things that we need to be sensitive to them and be able to, number one, recognize them. And I think that is a very key role of speakers, and one of the things that I know I have to focus very hard on when I go out and I don't necessarily do public speaking, but more training is get attuned to the audience, and I think that would be a very great position and skill to pick up.
Yes, definitely. And one of the things, too, is, always, like you said, different things change. Financial positions change. Jobs change. You have life events. And so in an organization where you're a leader and you're leading volunteers, one of the things that you do have to be very considerate of is when people are going through challenges in their personal life, and knowing that the team can come together and be able to fill in that gap for the time being while that person may need to focus on something, but being open enough and empathetic enough to see that there's a problem, because a lot of times people aren't comfortable with just coming out and telling, that there might be a problem or anything. So if you are a leader that really is in tune with your people, you're going to see that someone may have a problem because they're not responding to your emails, or they're not responding to your phone calls, or, there's been kind of a change in their personality or something. So at that point that you probably need to approach them and ask them if everything's okay or if they need help.
Mm-hmm. And that, again, is kind of a twofold, being a good leader, noticing those things, picking up on it, and then on the other side of the leader, being open to taking assistance, saying yes, receiving, I should say, help, so that they can get through whatever they may be going through.
Right, and leaders do need to definitely, yes, recognize that that's not a weakness when you ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
That's being proactive and asking your team to kind of help you when you're, in a down situation. And, being in a volunteer organization, I've learned that volunteers are motivated so much differently than if you're a leader in an organization where you have employees. And I think this has been probably the most important thing that I've learned through being a leader in Toastmasters and having to lead volunteers, is that, and this can feed into an organization where you do have paid employees too, is that you really have to be in tune with your people. You have to treat them with respect and include them, make sure that they know that they're part of the team, that they have the buy-in for it, whatever it is that your vision is, feeling a part of the solution,
mm-hmm.
and empowering their creativity, but also recognition and having fun, I think, is so important, not only just in a volunteer organization, but in a, paid employee organization too, because people love to be recognized and know that they're doing a good job. If you don't tell them and you don't recognize them, they may not really know that they're doing a good job. And I think that that's probably the most important motivator for most individuals.
Oh, me personally, I totally agree with that. Everybody likes that pat on the back, the attaboy, attagirl type of acknowledgement, all the way on up to being brought up, or in a business meeting, just like the business meetings that Toastmasters has. Everybody likes to look up there and say, "Hey, you're doing great on that," or just you're doing great, but have you considered just tweaking something right here, on that. I love that philosophy. Thank you.
And I was thinking, when you mentioned that, because that was one of a question that I had is, here you are, in the Toastmasters arena, you're a leader of volunteers, and those volunteers are basically, they're not getting paid to be there. You're not getting paid to motivate them, but you have to really definitely work as a team. And I can see where the recognition and just the communication with them so that they are understanding of how thankful and appreciative that you are of them. Because I bet